A question that I often hear asked is, does masturbation cause balding? Currently, there is no conclusive evidence linking masturbation to hair loss, but neither is there proof that it has no impact. This is interesting, as many people take on the position that there is no connection without questioning the underlying belief. Throughout history, the link between hair loss and sexual activity has been widely discussed, from ancient Greek philosophers to common sayings of the time. You could say it became almost a proverb. As the old adage goes, where there's smoke, there's fire. Given the long-standing existence of this rumored connection, it's at the very least a topic that warrants further investigation. Here is why I believe there is a connection. Let's start with some simple observations. Balding occurs mostly in men. Aristotle, the ancient Greek philosopher and student of Plato, is widely regarded as one of the most important figures in Western philosophy. In his treatise Generation on Animals, written over 2,000 years before, he made the following observations on balding and human physiology. Number 1. Women do not go bald. Of course, there are cases of balding among women, yet they pale in comparison to the number of men who experience it. Male pattern baldness is far more common and widely recognized, affecting a significantly higher percentage of men, especially as they age. 2. Eunuchs too do not go bald because of their transition into the female state. It has long been noted throughout history that eunuchs didn't experience balding. One must ask, why is it that eunuchs and women rarely experience balding in comparison to men? The major biological difference here is that men produce a seminal secretion, whereas women and eunuchs do not. Please note, castration is an outdated practice with serious health risks, and should only be performed for legitimate medical purposes. Aristotle writes, women do not go bald because their nature is similar to that of children. Both are incapable of producing seminal secretions. This, I believe, is the rationale behind the age-old saying that masturbation causes balding. Let's return to masturbation. In men, masturbation involves stimulating the genitals to produce a seminal secretion, which is ejaculated and expelled via the penis. If a man were to masturbate every day, it would be reasonable to assume he is producing and excreting more seminal secretions than a man who refrains from sexual activity. People often retort to this statement with the following logic. If masturbation caused baldness, then all men on earth would be bald, wouldn't they? Well, not all alcoholics die of liver disease, and not all smokers die of lung disease. Does that negate their effect on health? Of course not. Some live long, healthy lives despite their practice. In the same way, masturbation will not guarantee baldness. I see it as only increasing the risk factor. The next logical question here is, why do seminal secretions and sexual activity have any connection to balding? Aristotle's reasoning for balding centers on the concept that sexual intercourse expends the body's natural heat, which he believed is crucial for maintaining bodily functions, including hair growth. According to Aristotle, the act of sexual intercourse draws out this heat, particularly affecting the brain, which he considers the coldest part of the body. Since the brain is relatively lacking in heat, it is the first area to feel the cooling effects. The skin around the brain, being even less warm, is next in line to be affected, followed by the hair, which is furthest from the source of heat. I believe what Aristotle was alluding to here was a lack of blood reaching the head. As written in Leviticus 17:11, "For the life of the flesh is in the blood. Without the presence of blood there is no growth or nourishment for the flesh." It is often observed that bald individuals have hard, shiny patches on their scalps, areas where subcutaneous fat is no longer stored. In contrast, the scalp of a woman with abundant hair is typically soft and spongy, a sign of adequate fat stores, healthy circulation, and nourishment. Much like a patch of dirt with no fertile soil, these areas lacking blood flow become inhospitable to growth, unable to support the nourishment needed for hair regrowth. In 1760, the world-renowned Swiss doctor Samuel August Tissot wrote, "The seminal fluid, which has so much influence on the strength of the body and on the perfection of digestion that it restores it, has been unanimously acknowledged by physicians of every age. They have admitted that the loss of 1 ounce of it enfeebles more than 40 ounces of blood." This concept is echoed in the Chinese proverb, "A drop of semen is equal to 10 drops of blood." In Indian Ayurvedic medicine, semen is believed to be formed from 40 drops of blood and is considered the final product of the digestion process. There are more examples, but I will stop there. Although modern science does not acknowledge a direct connection between semen and blood, both ultimately depend on the same nutritional and metabolic processes in the body. While the relationship is not direct, there is clear evidence of an underlying connection between the two. If semen does in fact deplete the body's blood resources in some way, it would be reasonable to assume that excessive semen loss could result in some form of deficiency. This deficiency could, in turn, hinder the production and circulation of blood to certain areas of the body and impair the delivery of essential nutrients. The scalp is the uppermost part of the body, which places it at a disadvantage when it comes to blood flow due to gravity. Gravity has a measurable influence on both blood pressure and circulation, particularly in the venous system, as blood must travel upward from the lower body and fight against gravity to return to the heart. In situations of blood deficiency, this effect could be compounded, making it even harder for the scalp to receive the adequate blood supply necessary to nourish hair follicles. The arterial supply to the scalp comes from branches of the external carotid artery, including the superficial temporal, occipital, and posterior auricular arteries. These large arteries supply the scalp with blood, branching off into progressively smaller vessels as they ascend. The smaller branches ensure that the upper and posterior regions of the scalp receive an adequate blood supply. If blood volume or flow is compromised, whether due to semen loss or other health factors, the smaller arteries may struggle to deliver the necessary nutrients to the scalp, potentially leading to hair thinning or balding. Another possibility is, rather than deficiency of blood, there could be a thickening of blood affecting circulation. We know that testosterone can increase red blood cell production, leading to thicker blood. Therefore, it's possible that a rise in testosterone from increased sexual activity could contribute to blood thickening, potentially impairing circulation and restricting blood flow to various areas of the body. People taking testosterone often experience this side effect along with hair thinning and hair loss. In contrast, certain blood thinning medications have been shown to help reverse hair loss, suggesting that improved circulation may play a role in promoting hair health. Ethnicities with lower levels of circulating testosterone, such as East Asian populations, tend to experience significantly lower levels of balding compared to those in the West. Of course, this is not to say that all men who masturbate will inevitably go bald. The connection between semen loss and hair loss may represent an increased risk rather than a certainty. This theory that sexual activity and semen loss could impact hair growth is further supported by the fact that hair loss is a common symptom of hypogonadism, a condition characterized by excessive gonadal activity. If excessive gonadal activity has the common symptom of hair loss, and elimination of the reproductive function prevented balding, then it appears a connection may possibly exist between masturbation and hair loss. Of course, this is not conclusively proven, and for now remains just a theory.